You let a few of you guys get in here. For Monday, it's probably going to be a little slow, but that's okay. What's up, Robert? How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, JC. It's going good. I'm kind of rearranging some stuff, and I got one of my metal benders where I can start working on some projects and things. Still looking at other buildings. I don't really know what direction I'm heading, to tell you the truth. Yeah, I did too, JC. That's my favorite one. I've been watching it for a long time. I went back over there today. The gentleman hadn't called me back on the lease or whatever. I don't know. I'm at a standstill. I don't know what direction I want to go. I really like that building a lot. There's so much potential right there. You could do several different things out of that building, and I think make it work. I don't know why it's been there several years. I know two businesses have been in there. One was I think a guy that just was kind of messing with, doing tune-ups and things like that, but he never really advertised that much or really pushed the building. I think in that location you could you could do a lot. See, that's what I don't know. That's what I'm kind of wondering. I know when I went to purchase the building, they wanted almost 400 and some thousand for the building. I told them there's no way. It's not worth. There's buildings on the other side around it. The first building I showed you is a block away, and they're asking like I think it's 195 to 200,000 for it, and it's just like I say, it's just around the block. There's a couple others that's down from it, not in the best of shape, but for that kind of money, I could buy them. The last one I showed you guys, I don't understand it. What's up, David? It amazes me, some people, the cost they asked for these buildings and things. Yes, it is. I've learned that from experience. Yeah, I'm thinking I've ruffled a couple people's feathers on there, but that's me. I don't, it don't much don't much matter to me, but see, that's what I was thinking. You know, and that may be why people's not staying there. You know, you spend that kind of money. You know, there's just no way I could see. You know, I can still do it from the house temporary. My last building for 12 people that said that was pretty good. Before I let the lease, and I was one of the original guys that was in there. They had several different people, and he's still not leasing it, so he may have to drop the price. But I was paying $450. I heard they went up since I left. They're anywhere from $550 to $600 for, you know, a 1,200 square foot. I know that building there. You know, I just, you know, I don't see paying that out in rent unless I could, you know, I'd rather buy a place and have that money go in my pocket. And that's why I told my wife I'd, you know, maybe buy a place, put it in her name, and that way my company would be paying her for leasing the building. That's the only smart way to go. I just don't see throwing good money after bad money down the tube. You know, that money could go in our pocket. I just wanted, you know, I was just wanting to get some ideas, and I'm trying to get some business here at the house. I think for all, you know, finance purposes, right now I could run it from the house. Yes, it's a sole proprietor LLC corporation. And I talked to a lawyer, and he thought that was the best way to go. I've got all the tax ID. I have everything. You know, all I need to do is get the stuff up to date. You know, keep my licensing and all that. But, you know, I got to refile it this year with the... What's up, Dickie? I still have to refile it with the state, but other than that, I'm still good. It's just one of them things that every now and then I go look at buildings and get some kind of idea, and you know, just try to keep myself motivated enough to keep it going. But it's hard this day and age, you know, to I mean, you know, as a business owner, it's you know, there's people out there to skin you no matter what way you go. You know, you try to be the better person, but you always got that guy that, you know, and that's one thing I can say with both my previous landlords. They were fairly decent with me. You know, they worked with me. I know, I think that's probably why one of them did, because I knew when I moved out of the place I was in, both sides, for some reason, it's just not in a very good location. Yeah, and that's what everybody's told me. And even when just before my dad had passed, that was one thing he told me. He said the best money he ever made is when he had his television business at the house. You know, he didn't have the overhead. He didn't. He could take some of the utilities, phone, different things like that off the taxes. He said, you know, that's when he really noticed the money that he'd make. The only thing that bothers me, you know, and I need to do some. I've got a paint room, but I'd like to do it to do the stuff. I'd also like to close in part to where, you know, the main traffic couldn't, you know, going down my road can't see what's going on. All right, David, I'm glad you stopped by. Yeah, JC, the only thing is I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I'm really undecided. I wished when I'd built this shop, I'd have built it a lot bigger. You know, I can add on here and there, but I'm limited. And, you know, I really want to see how things are going to go. You know, there's so much going on right now. And like you said, you know, the overhead will eat you up. I mean, that's what ate me up at the other place. You know, I was barely breaking even there. And that's what I told my wife. I think I would have been better off if I would have just took that money and invested in the house and just added on to my shop at the time and done everything I needed to do, and it had all been paid for. And even some of my equipment would have been. Yeah, and that was the whole thing, and you know, some of the guys that I would let, you know, we'd do different jobs and things, you know, they wasn't understanding the money that I was making was paying for, you know, the lights and stuff. And I understand the first 3-4 years, a year in business, you're not going to make any money. It has to go back into the company. If I had to do it over, I would have done a lot of things different. But, you know, I started from scratch, and that's one thing that made me feel good is that I did start from scratch. You know, I was never, you know, never backed up for nobody, never, you know, if I did something wrong or there was, you know, a mistake made or whatever, I made it right and went on, or at least tried to make it right. You know, that I could say better than most. And I've got a Facebook and different business pages. And what's up, Nick? Different deals. that I wouldn't have been contacted by the Better Business Bureau, within a year. She said they don't do that, but they had so. Yeah, and that's for okay, JC. A lot of my business was I do a lot of customizing stuff, cars. The bulk of my business was a lot for the longest time. I was doing a lot of window tinting, a lot of the halo. I don't know if you've seen the halo lights and things, but they rotate and that. Just mainly, truck body lifts, anything to do with truck accessory, car accessories. What's up, Marco? Just a lot of the custom stuff. I'm thinking about going back to the old school. I used to do a lot of C-notches, a lot of lowering, a lot of hydraulic. I'm thinking about right rods, things like that. Getting back into the more custom stuff than the truck accessories, car accessories. It's good money, don't get me wrong, but I was doing better on the custom aspect of doing welding for C-notches and making my own fabricating stuff. I had all sorts of business from just people that don't do that around here. I probably should have stuck with it here at the house. I have seriously thought about doing the auto detailing. We've had a couple of them in town, and I hate it for them, but one place they come in, it's not been too long, and they raided the place. He had a lot of Hispanics or illegals, which, he was doing really, really well. I feel sorry for the guy. He was Hispanic himself, and, they just come in, shut him down, and I hate that for him because he had probably on a weekly basis, I would say 50 to 25 cars a week, and I mean they were doing 5 and 10 cars a day, and I mean he had a crew, and depending on what you want, he'd go in there, and if you wanted the seats pulled out of it, carpet replaced, he'd do it all, and he was very reasonable. I don't understand why they didn't work with him. And I even approached him about buying the building and just putting, my name on the building and keeping his crew. They was knocking down some serious money. And he wasn't even, and that's what I asked him. I said, "Are you advertising?" He says, "No." He said, "Most of it was word of mouth." And, to have a business like that and then have them just, it go by the wayside, I hate it for him because, like I said, he was knocking down some serious. And from what I gathered, the first shop I showed you guys, that's where they were out of. And, I don't see any of the equipment. I've seen the building with the doors open and stuff, and none of it's there. So I wonder if he just moved it maybe back to his house or what. But I think if a guy did it the right way and, done everything, kosher, I really think you could make it work. He was, like I said, he was the cars and stuff that was running in and out of there, they was quality. I mean, and they were doing it for a reasonable price. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I think, though, for the small business guy, it just, I don't know, it just seems like they make it harder and harder, you know, because I'd seen different things, you know, with the complex I worked in, you know, the different shops, how there was different rules for different people. Well, and that's the problem, JC. And the ones of us that want to do it the right way and the honest way, I hate to say it, but it looks like, you know, a lot of times we get kicked in the teeth. I know several people, and I know eventually they're going to get caught up with, or, you know, they'll get karma, but I just, you know, I see some of the things they pull, and I'm like, man, it's just... And that's true, Robert. That is very true. And I've seen a lot of people do that. You know, in my opinion, it all, you know, steers on integrity. You know, if you don't have the integrity, and that, you know, in my opinion, you're not going to last in business. But then I've said that, and I've seen a couple of them just put the screws to anybody and everybody. I don't know. I'll do it my way, and eventually I'll make it. You know, I try to stay positive. There's good days and there's bad days, and I'm sure we all have them. It just amazes me, the different businesses around here that, you know, they were kind of like me. They've just packed up and either moved it back to the house, or I see them somewhere and they're like, man, you know, it's just rough out there. And one guy told me, he said, man, they're hard on the brick and mortar guy. He said, you know, I knew a guy that, you know, he was doing well as a cleaning business. You know, they go clean floors and things. But he had some big corporation company that somebody had bought a franchise, and they come in, and some of the companies that he was doing just, you know, they horned him out of it. He said, I can't compete with, you know, what they're charging. And he said, you know, they're paying their employee. He said, you know, I was paying pretty good. But he said, a couple of my employees come to me and said, man, they're offering us $5-6 more an hour. And he said there's just no way he could compete with that. What's up, Brian? It's going good. I don't know, and that's what, you know, kind of makes me hesitate to jump back into it. But, you know, I'm so stubborn that, you know, I've had so many people, you know, tell me, oh, you need to go back to work for the other guy and that, and, you know, that's easier said than done. You know, And, you know, at one time I did a lot of the, and I probably should have stuck with it. I was doing lawns and you know, mowing lawns and different thing on the side and stuff. And I was getting, you know, a few people here and there. But there's so many in this area that, you know, I didn't know if I could compete, you know. And I talked to, hey, what's up, H&H? And, you know, maybe if I'd have stuck with that and done my custom also, I think I'd have been all right. But I don't know. Hindsight's 20/20. You know, we've all made mistakes. We all, you know, you just gotta move on. And we're doing good, TJ. Thank you very much. Like I said, I was telling the guys, I think I ruffled a few feathers, but that's all right too. You know me, it don't much matter one way or the other. It just, I tell it like it is and move on. Well, and that's what I told my wife. You know, it's I look at it as a life's lesson. You know, I just I don't understand, you know, that's, that's funny, Robert. I know, maybe that's what I'd go do, because, I don't know, I think some of it sometimes is, a put on, or somebody's, you know, we got the trolls out there, and I think they just do that to see what, you know, whether they can ruffle your feathers. But I sometimes, you know, whether it's one viewer or 10, now I'm not here for that. I do my own things. I enjoy doing the videos. You know, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not a perfect angel or whatever, but and that's kind of why I am, Robert. But I try to, you know, a lot of times I'll stop and think and you know, what's up, Roadrunner? I'm a little bit, as the older I got, I guess, the more, I guess I'm a little bit more, like I said before, you know, it's just words. So, you know, what do I care what they say? You know, it's their opinion. And my dad always told me opinions was like assholes. Everybody's got one. And that's true, JC. That is so true. And that's, that's the problem this day and age. You know, they probably haven't had to school hard knocks like we have. Like I said, I guess that's where I get a little bit of my stubbornness from, because when somebody tells me I can't do something, that's when I'm gonna do something, you know, to prove them wrong. I don't know, that the one I did today was kind of it was a little bit longer than that, but I chopped it down and stuff. I mean, they got the point, but I just want people to stop and think, you know, where you going to be, and that's the ones that's going to freak out, is the trolls, because they may have to come out of mom and dad's basement, and they may have to fend for themselves. And I was glad that I had a dad that was, you know, he was up on all that stuff. He you know, but he grew up during the Depression and that, so. Oh yeah, TJ, you are so right on that aspect. A lot of others right along with them, because the sheeples are going to follow right along with them. And the sad thing of it is, I've got family members that are close family members that they can't see the forest for the trees. And I blame that on the parents. It just amazes me how many parents are, well, I want them to have more than what I had. You know what? Well, you know what? I had to work for everything I got. You know, I didn't, you know, I was 13, 14 years old walking the cornfields. You know, I done paper routes. I done, you know, whatever it took. These days, now the parents coddle them, you know. I've got a nephew that's almost 20 years old and don't even drive. He depends on everybody else because he just, well, so I'll get there one way or another. And I'm like, it just amazes me how people just, no, TJ, it'll be, if they're lucky, it'll be 3 months. No, that I don't. They'll in a week's time. For one, their cell phone and things, they will go. There'll be, I would say, 50% of them will go stark craving mad if they don't have their cell phone for a month. I mean, they'll totally freak. Well, and that's the whole thing, Robert. And that's, you know, and it's going to be, it's going to be brutal. People don't understand that. And that's why I said I wasn't trying to spread doom and gloom. I just want them to wake up and smell the roses. I mean, TJ can tell you, I mean, there's, Yeah, but JC, yours isn't the only one. That's the sad thing. I don't know if they're teaching them that in school or what. I had a friend that had. I'd have been happy if my dad offered a pickup and offered to help me fix it up. You know, he said, "I'll give you $5 grand, and you can drive back and forth to school." And it was an old C10 pickup. It was an old farm truck, but they could have done something with it. And he totally walked away from it. And his dad said, "Well, I'm not helping you." And he said, "Oh well, I'll get it some way, somehow." But he wanted a newer style car. I just don't understand. It just. Yeah, me too, TJ. I'd have been, if somebody give me. Oh yeah, I think that, all the time. And if you have something paid for, you're going to be a lot better off. I just, man, I wish somebody had offered me that. It's totally amazing, how this younger generation, it's. Yeah, he's going to regret it big time. And that's, I had a cousin that, when I was younger, that he was a Navy SEAL, and he took me and my other nephew out. And, he taught us quite a little bit. I just wished I'd have paid more attention at the time. I just, I was 9 or 10, I think, when he done it. And I don't think I realized the opportunity I had there. It was, I kind of wished I'd have listened a little bit more. But, you're young, you don't think of them things. I just hope it's not going to be too late. Well, and that's what I don't understand, because I was from the city, but I used to go out in the country, and I was with my cousins and things, and we baled hay. I know what it is to put up hay. I know what it is to, get up early. And we went out and got the eggs from the chicken house. I spent, Mom and Dad a couple times went on vacation and left us kids up, on the farm with my mom's sister, and we had a ball. I learned a lot. We didn't have the best, Dad was self-employed, and, There was some months that we didn't, get a whole lot. I could remember when, we was from up north where, it was a lot of unions and things. And I can remember as a kid wanting to go to see several different movies, and Dad was like, "No, my Lila, if you pass that across that picket line," he said, "they're not going to come to me." He said, "We'll be eating jelly beans for food." He said they won't. If they find out that you done that, he said, "No, I'm not going to let you do. I'm sorry, you can't do that." It was things like that that as a kid I never understood. I walked, like I said, walked beans, walked the cornfield. I had a paper route. It was funny, my paper route, when they split it up, it took three different, they had to split it up in 3 sections for 3 different kids because it was too much for them to handle. And I never understood that because, I done that paper route plus one other one. And I was making, pretty good money a week on that. And, I don't get it. What's up, Ace? Trying to keep up, catch up. I don't know, yeah, and that's why, like I said, that's why I kind of did the video. It was nothing about tools or anything, but I know H&H probably does, or TJ does. Gets a lot of horse laughs, and a lot of people don't have the faith either, and that amazes me too. How you cannot Well, I'm glad you stopped by, Brian. Yeah, JC, I'm going to, I may, I'm putting an ad out, I think, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do one for, get back into the lawn mowing and lawn care stuff. I enjoy that. I think I might just do like a handyman type deal too. You guys seen how I built my shop and that, and there's a lot of handyman people needing stuff like that done. It's just, and that's what everybody's been telling me. I've got a friend that told me that, he said they're going to follow you. You done good in town. He said they're going to call you. What's up, Dickie? Thanks for stopping by. It's. I know I'm getting the cart in front of the horse again. It is just one of them things that I just needed a little positive reinforcement, and I thought I'd take you guys along doing the video. And I agree, TJ. man, sometimes it is just, I don't know, I seem like I'm spinning my wheels, and every which direction I turn, I get kicked in the teeth, and I shouldn't be negative like that, but, you know, after a while, you begin to wonder. And I don't know, I told my wife, I said, sometimes I feel lost. You know, I don't know what direction I want to go. And I don't really care to be, I mean, it'd be nice, don't get me wrong, but, you know, I wouldn't care to be rich. I'd just like to be able to not worry about the light bill being late, or the phone bill, or, you know, which bill I'm going to pay this month, or is the Snap-on guy going to get his money, or, you know, and that's one thing I try to tell, you know, some of my subscribers and things. The toolbox and things like that are nice, but when hard times comes, you know, you still have that bill every month to pay. Don't, you know, if I had to do it over, you know, I'd have researched some other boxes and, you know, went in other directions. But, you know, I had planned on the business paying for it all. And it just, it sucks. And I'm with you, H&H. I would rather, you know, the acreage away from everybody is what I want. That's more important to me than anything right now. To where I can grow my own food and be self-sufficient, have my own solar, build my own solar panels, build my own generators and things. You know, raise my food, because there's going to come a time that I think we're going to need it. I think that's, you know, but that's what they want, CJ. You know, I hate to say it, but that's the way the system is. You know, and that's what we need to get back to, the basics. You know, I can remember my grandfather and that they raised their own food and stuff. Grandma used to they would have 6 months worth of food down in the cellar. You know, that was, you know, a must. They didn't run into town all the time. Yeah, Robert, and I don't know about you, but, you know, and it don't matter anymore to me, but I had a credit score close to probably 800. If I was guessing now, I haven't checked it, but it's probably, I would say, round 3, 2, I don't know, it don't matter. You know, I managed to, you know, like I said, I was going to make that business work or else. And I took a lot of bad advice, and I took, you know, I made some bad decisions. You know, And that's the whole thing. And I can always remember my dad always telling me, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, it's just one of them things. But, you know, I'm to the point where I would be happy with acres and, like TJ said, a small tiny house that was paid for, and, you know, the necessities. You know, I would, you know, would love nothing more, and to be my brother-in-law. He pays cash for everything. It don't bother. I mean, he's got plenty of money to do it, but like he said, his credit score isn't any better than because he pays cash for everything, but he don't have no debt. His house is paid for. He's got a house down in Florida he paid cash for, or excuse me, in Texas. You know, that would be nice, you know, when you didn't want to be in Iowa 1 month or whatever, you want to run down to Florida or to wherever. You know, he can take off and go any place he wants to and not have to worry about having the money to do it, or, you know, what credit card I gonna put a vacation on or whatever. Everything he has, he pays cash for. You know, I've made some choices or tried to make some good decisions and ended up bad, but well, and that's what I've heard, CJ. That's the main thing, is to be out of debt. I don't know, sometimes I sit back and think, you know, of, you know, when I was younger, if I could go back, you know, I'm sure that all the bad decisions I've made in my life, that, you know, if I'd have just saved that money, or if I'd have done something different, where would I be? Well, and that's just it, CJ. And I've been told by several people, you know, at least, you know, I took the opportunity to do, or take at least a chance and follow my dream. I've had several people tell me that they couldn't do what what I accomplished in the short amount of time I did. And like I said, I made some bad decisions, but I'm still not regretting that I didn't get to do it. And I understand that, Robert. And you know, some people it works good for, and some it don't. You know, and that's the whole thing. But you know, we've all taken a chance. We've all, you know, whether you win or lose, you know, basically it's you know, it different strokes for different folks. Well, and that's what I keep telling myself. And I see my dad achieve it right from his, you know, and that's what he told me. The best time is when he moved his business back to the house. He had a storefront. He had the big sign. He had the neon sign. He had a business partner. And that's just it, JC. You know, we all have different different way. And I have a friend that told me that it's one of them deals, you know. And that's what he kept telling me. He said, you know, at least you tried. He said, you followed your dream. He said, you took a business that didn't even exist and you made it something. He said, that's something to be, you know. He said it's different because, you know, when he took the radiator business over from another guy, granted he bought in, you know, when he done it, he said, you know, he said, I worked my tail off day and night. And he said there was times there, he said, I wished I'd have stopped and at least smelled the roses, you know, enjoyed life. You know, that's one thing he said, that, you know, he was making good money in that, but, you know, he didn't, you know, the 7 or 8 years that he done the business, like he said, 5 years of it, he said, I didn't, you know, the only thing I ever did out of it was build a house. You know, he said the rest of it, he said, I really didn't get to enjoy life. You know, he said I was too busy working. Well, we could be like them guys down there and be drug cartels. I'm sure I've got a blowtorch around here somewhere or whatever. Or they don't like competition. I'm going to do like my dad and grandfather said. They said they were going to go somewhere and buy him an island, start a war with the United States, let them bomb us and that, and totally destroy it, and then let them come back in and build us up and that, and we'd be well off if we did that. Oh, I agree, Robert, on that aspect. I've heard some stories on that. Yeah, but see, if you or I did that, they'd throw us in a jail and lose the key. Oh, Robert, we could go over there and start our own country. And that's right, CJ, and I've seen it happen. And that's why I really, especially in this area, the market for auto accessory, auto window tinting. I've just been doing a lot of researching on that, and it's almost flooded in just the Fayetteville, Rogers, Springdale, Bentonville area. There are so many people doing it. You know, there's a lot of competition out there. Granted, there is in everything else, but a lot of them, you know, like I talked to a guy, he was thinking about getting out of it also, because he says the average person can get on Amazon now and get a bumper or a push bumper or get their own window tint sent to the door already pre-cut, like with the window tint and stuff like that. So what do they need, you know, somebody like me to do it? It's the ones that can't do it. Yeah, flatbeds. I'd thought about like something like flatbeds. A lot of farmers and things. I've had a couple of farmers approach me, and I told them bring them by, but like trailers and trailer lights for somebody to do it. You know, they don't want to crawl under there and do it. You know, we've got the co-op down here, and we've got a deal, and I thought about putting that on my business cards and just sticking them up there. You know, a lot of people don't do the tail lights or you know, fix. Yeah, the hay hauling beds. See you later, TJ. Thanks for stopping in. Well, JC, next time you're up here, just give me a holler. See, I had thought about running over there, TJ, and getting a few of them truck beds. Because I've known a couple people that had come to my shop, and I had a Hispanic guy come on one of the old, I think it was a Ford or a Dodge. One of their tractors popped out of gear and shoved the truck into the building, and it got both of them plastic fenders. And by the plastic fenders and that, I told him I could get him a bed cheaper than I could the fenders. Just, you know, buying the fenders and painting them. Yeah, I'm about 5-10 minutes from Fayetteville. I'm in Springdale, Arkansas. I'm out just outside of town though. I live out towards the lake. Yeah, you're probably right. I need to check into that and just see. It's one of the better barbecue places around here anyway. Wow, 14 hours. That's unbelievable. I used to could do that, but are you talking the bigger trucks, semis and things? 8 hours is not too bad. I think it's only like 6 hours to Jay's, what is it, Halls, Tennessee or whatever. I checked it a couple times. I thought the world was flat, and that's why I've always been afraid to drive very far. I'm afraid I'd fall off the edge of the earth. I don't know too many guys that have their CDLs that's retired. I was trying to think. I had a buddy that used to work for Walmart, but I can't. I was trying to sit here and think if Robert, I'm kind of the same way. I'm a homebody. I don't really like to fly. My wife got me on a plane when we took a cruise. I was about ready to tear the airplane seats off. She don't mind flying and stuff, but I think if God would have wanted us to fly, He'd give us wings, in my opinion, but that'd be the way to do it. $700 cash for 3 days? Good God. Was he crazy or what? And it was cash money. So do I. Shoot, for that kind of money. And you paid for the hotels? What a bonehead. And he only had to work 3 days a week for $700 cash. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Robert. That's just that much more money I'd have had in my pocket. $1,000 for $700, and you paid him cash. That's a no-win situation there. Wow. I don't understand. Dang, I need to get a CDL myself. If that's all I had to do is work 3 days a week for that kind of money. It amazes me how I don't know, I just wow, that is unbelievable. And he wanted $1,000. Yeah, I don't understand that. That was sounds like how long did he do it? All right, glad you got to come in. Got to talk to you a little bit. Take care. Have a good one. Heck yeah, Robert. Man, I wished I had a CDL. I'd be doing that. Shoot, I live right here. Just have him fly me back. And I know somebody was telling me nowadays there's not even hardly any shift. I don't know his trucks and that, but whether you had to shift or not, you know, a lot of the trucks anymore are automatics. Yeah, but if it's only like a 14-hour trip, like he said, a guy could drive straight through. I don't know, you know, I'm sure you could do it. Drive straight through. You know, you could make some pretty good. Try to make 2 trips a week. Golly, you could make some serious money there. And that's, you know, I don't know my position right now. Like I said, I'm just totally. I'm gonna do some stuff here at the house, but I just don't know what direction I'm heading. I just. You know, I just feel kind of lost right now. I've always had a job or only had my own business or something, and yeah, and I know I could see 2 months, but and that's where my business, when it was went into about the third or fourth month, I knew things weren't, you know, looking up, and that's why I just decided to, you know, kind of move it back to the house. You know, and sometimes it's not always bad to go back to work for the other guy because he's got to worry about the taxes, and all of that. A lot of people don't look at that. They don't see the whole picture. You know, they don't see the insurance and everything you have there, and then if you have a home, keeping the home and the responsibilities you have there. You know, my mom has taken up a lot of time with doctor's visits. You know, I know her hand had to be operated on, and she had her eyes operated on, but you know, people don't think of that. You know, and people that have kids, you know, they have responsibilities, plus make the business go, plus, you know. Well, and that's the whole thing, Robert. They only think of themselves. And they don't think that, you know, they may be starving a baby out, or if they don't pay that guy or they stiff him, you know, he's got a family to feed, and, you know, not everybody's always forgiving in that aspect, you know. I don't, I don't know. It's sometimes it's hard. You don't, or they don't see the whole picture like you and I do. And I guess that's where I kind of, I'm like the next guy. You know, I like a good decision, but or a deal, but you know, it's making that decision to, you know, I really have never tried to chew a guy down. I've just never, you know, I try to get a good deal, maybe on a car or something, but you know, if I'm buying something from an individual and they're asking, you know, I know a lot of guys will walk in there and try to get it, and that's only good business or whatever, but I know how I feel when somebody tries to Jew me down on something or try to lowball. I think the lowball part's what aggravates me the most, you know. Well, and that's it, Robert. Because I know the overhead, I know the insurance, I know, you know, it's hard. And that's one thing I got. Yeah, yeah. And well, or have them tell me, well, I'll go down the street and see it. Well, that's when I had the hydro dipping part of it. When they try to lowball me there or whatever, I say, well, take it down the street. Because I knew at that time there was only a couple guys doing it, but there was only one other person that was doing it good, and that was the guy that had taught me in school. And from what I hear, he's no longer with the school, so and that's one thing I felt that I'm not bragging. Well, I am a little bit, but you know, I feel I'm good at what I do on that aspect of the paint and doing the hydro dipping and that. There's more to it than meets the eye. And well, in some instances, you get that a lot from your friends and family, or at least I did. Well, you need to give me the buddy deal, or and I said, well, let's put that on the other hand. If I'm buying a car from you or something, are you going to give me a better deal? 90 times out of 10, they're going to tell you no. Yeah. Oh, me too. I have learned from my dad. He that's one thing he um, it's just, and you very well may know, but it's when you want something bad enough, you'll fight to get it, and that was my whole point in the aspect that even when I was starting a business, I was having people sit back and I know they were taking bets on me to see how long the business was gonna last or do, and I think that's the whole reasoning behind the way I think. I'm here to prove, and my wife tells me that I shouldn't be that way, but I'm here to prove them all wrong. Whether it takes me 5 or 10 years or whatever. And that's what I told her. I have my heart and soul invested in it, and I think that's why I really don't want to give it up. And I shouldn't care what friends or family think, but it's not what they think. It's just I want to prove them wrong. Um, and you wouldn't think I'd be that way as many times as I've been kicked in the teeth and stuff, but it's a matter of pride. I've just always been that way. I've always wanted to prove somebody wrong when they laugh at me. And sometimes it Well, and maybe that's part of my makeup is I try too hard to be everybody's friend. And I don't and don't get me wrong, I can be the biggest butthead there is, but you get on my bad side, and sometimes you have to be that way in business. Yes, I've been told that several times, Robert, that sometimes you got to be or most of the time you got to be a hard ass. Because there's a guy out there that's, but I look at one person and I think that he's a pretty down-to-earth guy and that, and I always fall back to Chip Foose. I know he's had hard knocks. He used to work for Boyd Coddington, so he treats his people with a little bit of respect. And I'm sure his dad's, taught him that. I mean, I know he's done it for years and things, but that's the only way to, in my opinion, if a boss yells at me or treats me beneath them, I'll put it that way, I just feel that, you can be a good boss, a decent boss, not have people walk on you, but you could tell them in a nice manner, and not treat them like, I've had bosses before, treat you like you're an idiot or you don't know. And there's a lot of people out there that don't understand that we all have different talents and things. Just because you do it a certain way and I choose to do it a certain way, does that mean it's wrong? I may do it left-handed and you may do it right-handed. Does that mean it's wrong? I don't know. It's just one of them things that I sit and think of things. I try to, I guess, analyze stuff. Yeah, Robert, and I've seen that. Like I said, I used to work in the factories and things. I seen supervisors and things, even if there was somebody there that was as smart as what they were, or if they question, like if I ever questioned anything, it was either you had an attitude or you was, you had an anger problem, and it wasn't that. You were just trying to get your point across. But they didn't want to see it. You know, it was one way, and I'd had a couple of them tell me, "You're not going to win," and you know that's a sad thing. You know, because I've seen a lot of corporations or companies ruined that way because of the leadership. And I think that's why our government's run. Also, I think that there's so many egos up there and things that nobody wants to give an inch. And that's the whole problem. You know, I don't know. It's... We all have, like you said, we all have a different way of doing things. You know, what works for you may not work for me. You know, you can give me advice and tell me, you know, how things work for you. I can take it, and it may not work. Then again, you know, some of your ideas and things might work. They just might work in a different way. And, you know, and that's what I had told a couple of the younger guys that I had talked to with some of my competition. And, you know, a couple of them was, you know, willing to work with me. And went back, and one in particular, you know, he was a partner, and he said, come back, and he said, well, you know, I run it by him, and he don't see it that way. He sees it as competition. And I said, well, at least he was honest and, you know, upfront with you about it. You know, I said, if there's something I can't do, you know, I'm either going to go to another, because he thinks that way, I'm going to go to another guy that can do it, and see if he'll do it. And the guy did, and what it was bedliners. You know, I didn't want to get into the bedliner part of it. I had customers ask. I'd went to talk to a guy. He was just right down the road. He could have done it. All he'd have had to do is just, all I asked was $50. For everyone I sent him, I got 50% or $50. And I knew what he was doing, spray-in bed liners for. You know, he could have done it. I'd have had him 4 and 5 trucks. I went and talked to another guy. He said, heck yeah. He was 2 more miles down the road. I'd send him a truck, a bed liner, whatever. And it was odd that the other one that I offered to do the business aspect of it ended up losing not only the ones that I was going to send him, but he also, some of the car dealerships and things found out that this other guy was doing them, and he was doing them a lot better. They weren't, you know, he hadn't had any trouble, where this guy cut corners to save a buck, and, you know, it hurt his business. So, you know, maybe it was a blessing that he didn't work with me. Or I would have had to, you know, maybe eat the cost of the bedliner stuff. I don't know. And that's what I didn't understand with my window tint guy. I was splitting, you know, any cost of the window tint with him. He didn't have to buy none of the supplies or anything, and I was giving him, it was straight across the board, you know, 50-50. Yeah, I didn't crawl in the cars and sweat my tail off and have to do the work and stuff, But, you know, I was putting up, you know, the business name. I was putting up all the insurance and stuff. And, you know, he couldn't be there on time. He was a slacker. I hate to put it that way, but, I mean, he was a good kid and everything. But it was one of them things that he just didn't want to put himself forth. Well, Robert, and he did, until I sit down one day and got a readout of supplies and let him see the supplies and things. You know, the razor blades, the window tint, you know, I showed him what my cost liability insurance for, you know, if he pulled a car out and damaged it. And once I did that, he was like, you know, he couldn't believe that, because he talked about doing it for himself. Well, he was doing it outside at his folks' house, but like I told him, I said, you know, they come back and sue your mom and dad for everything they have. I hate to tell you this, but oh yeah, and that's what I would always get. Oh, you're making a killing, or, you know, I wished I was in your shoes. You know, you're knocking down good money and you're not having to do a thing. Well, yeah, I am. You know, I'm having to worry about how the bills are going to be paid. Exactly. People don't understand that. You know, I was paying, on top of rent and everything else, I was paying $200 a month for that was just liability insurance. Luckily, you know, there was different deals there, but you know, I had the content of the building added in with that. You know, your tools and things. You know, that people don't take into consideration that, you know, all that stuff added up. They didn't understand why I was, you know, following him around and ask him, you know, well, did you put that screwdriver back, or did you, you know, make sure that you got all the windows done, or if they pulled a tire off, I'd go back myself and torque them down and check them. It was just one of them little extras that I would do. There was a couple times, you know, we did lighting on cars that a buddy of mine and I, you know, we'd split the cost, but there was one particular that, you know, he ended up redoing it 3 times. It was just one of them deals that, you know, we had to make it right. And people don't understand that when you have to go back and what I call lick your own calf, and you do it 2 and 3 times, you haven't made anything. I don't care how you look at it, you have not made a dime. And that's what I always stress. Why not do it right the first time? And I know we all make mistakes. I have. But, you know, I've ate, you know, $1,500, $2,000 too, you know, and, you know, you're looking forward to being able to pay the rent or, you know, whatever. But a lot of people don't understand that. They just think that it's peaches and cream. And that's what I always said. I was going to write a book on how not to run a business, because I think I've done everything that you could do wrong. And don't get me wrong, I did a lot of good things too, but Oh yeah, that is no lie there. Well, Robert, it was good talking with you. I think I'm going to get off of here. Call it a night. Notice we have 4 people watching, so you do the same. Hang in there and have a good evening, and we'll see you in the next live feed.